A warm greeting. Today is Thursday, August 24, 2023. This is meteorologist Ruben Garcia speaking. In this video, we will be discussing the updated forecast of Tropical Storm Franklin, which is currently located to the north of the Dominican Republic and is slowly moving eastward while gradually strengthening. It is anticipated that it will pass just west of Bermuda as a powerful Category 2 or Category 3 hurricane. Additionally, we will be talking about the Western Caribbean region, where the National Hurricane Center is monitoring a low-pressure system that has developed just north of Honduras. This is the area I mentioned in yesterday's video, where models indicated the potential for cyclonic development. I had mentioned that the National Hurricane Center would likely mark this area as an area of interest for development over the next few days. Since 8 p.m. yesterday, the National Hurricane Center has designated this area as having probabilities of cyclonic development. The probabilities of a cyclone forming have been rapidly increasing as it moves near the western side of Cuba and then enters the state of Florida early next week. Interests in the Yucatán Peninsula, western Cuba, and the west coast of the Florida Peninsula should be attentive to the evolution of this disturbance. The Atlantic remains very active with Tropical Storm Franklin, which will strengthen into the second hurricane of the season. We also have two disturbances with moderate probabilities of development, but they will maintain trajectories over open waters of the Atlantic. Lastly, we can see a low-pressure system north of Honduras that has a high probability of becoming a tropical depression as it moves northeast over the next few days. First, let's focus on the region where Tropical Storm Franklin is located. You can see that this system appears more organized compared to yesterday. However, wind shear is still affecting this disturbance from the west, and the center of circulation remains displaced to the east of the strongest thunderstorm activity. As it moves eastward and then begins to turn northward, conditions will improve significantly, providing an opportunity for rapid strengthening as it moves northward. Today, we have better consensus among trajectory models. You can see that it is forecasted to maintain an east-northeast movement over the next 48 hours, followed by a turn to the north-northwest. It appears that it will pass west of Bermuda. With this trajectory, it will likely not have direct effects on the island. However, it's important to remain vigilant in case of any unexpected changes. In terms of intensity, most models already depict a hurricane by Saturday, with some even developing a major hurricane of Category 3 or 4 by Sunday or Monday. Currently, the National Hurricane Center is forecasting that it will pass just west of Bermuda with sustained maximum winds of 110 miles per hour, making it a Category 2 hurricane, on the verge of becoming the first major hurricane of the season. If it maintains the trajectory indicated by the National Hurricane Center, Bermuda could experience some indirect effects, including gusty conditions and dangerous sea conditions during Monday afternoon and evening. Now, let's discuss the low-pressure system that has entered the Caribbean Sea. This low-pressure system is currently located to the northeast of Honduras and is associated with the disturbance I mentioned yesterday, which was situated east of Nicaragua and was expected to move in this direction. It's also influenced by a moisture flow associated with a low-pressure system over El Salvador and western Honduras. The combination of these systems in the Western Caribbean should lead to gradual organization of this system. The low-pressure system developed north of Honduras, and as of 8 p.m., the National Hurricane Center increased the probability of cyclonic development to 70% as it moves through the Western Caribbean. It will likely pass between the Yucatán Peninsula and western Cuba before approaching the west coast of the Florida Peninsula. Conditions in this area will marginally favor cyclonic organization. First, note that sea surface temperatures remain warmer than usual. Additionally, a trough is forecasted to position itself in the northeastern Gulf of Mexico, potentially creating favorable conditions for organization. However, there is a discrepancy regarding the exact location of this trough, which will be important to determine whether significant cyclonic development will occur. So, we have two scenarios. The first is shown by the European model, which depicts a trough in the northeastern Caribbean that, as it moves eastward, will have a positive influence on cyclonic organization due to promoting upper-level divergence in the northeast quadrant of the low-pressure system. These conditions facilitate the formation and organization of these systems. On the other hand, the GFS model presents a different outlook, indicating that wind shear could affect this low-pressure system as it moves through the area. However, currently, the GFS model is alone in this solution. In fact, it doesn't develop this low-pressure system. Nevertheless, the probabilities remain high because other models do indicate development. For instance, here we have the forecast from the European model, showing the low-pressure system moving just east of the Yucatán Peninsula. Between Saturday and Sunday, we could have a low-pressure system, likely a tropical depression, by Monday morning. It would then move over the Gulf of Mexico and encounter favorable conditions for strengthening. The latest run of the European model depicts a strong tropical storm making landfall just north of Tampa on Tuesday night. We also have the forecast from the German model, which shows a weaker system but does indicate a tropical depression or tropical storm approaching the western coast of the Florida Peninsula by Tuesday afternoon. Similarly, the Canadian model has a forecast similar to the European model, depicting a strong tropical storm approaching the Florida Big Bend region by Tuesday afternoon. Comparing these models with the GFS ensemble, you can see that very few members develop this system into a tropical storm or depression before reaching Florida. The contrast is significant between the GFS ensemble and the European model ensemble, where nearly all of them depict a tropical storm or strong tropical storm. Some even show a hurricane, so we cannot dismiss this possibility. I'll give you a preliminary look at some of the effects that could be felt on the west coast of Florida. For instance, based on the latest projection from the European model, a strong tropical storm is expected to move just north of Tampa on Tuesday night, bringing some tropical storm force winds to the northern half of the Florida Peninsula. Wind gusts could range from 70 to 75 miles per hour, especially along the coast from Tampa to Tallahassee. Under this projection, places like Jacksonville, Daytona, and Orlando would experience tropical storm force winds on Tuesday night and Wednesday. The movement of this potential cyclone across Florida could be quite swift, so at the moment, rainfall accumulations are expected to be between 1 to 2 inches. This suggests that the risk of flooding seems low for now. However, remember again that this forecast is subject to change, and we will need to carefully observe how this low-pressure system evolves over the next few days as it slowly moves through the western Caribbean Sea. That concludes today's video. To stay informed about the development of this disturbance, especially if you reside in Florida, western Cuba, or regions of the Yucatán Peninsula, I invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking the red button below the video. Don't forget to click the notification bell to receive alerts when I upload new videos. With that, goodbye.